Some small businesses can't afford a directory listing, but they have skills and they have talent. Their talent matches the hard work and the know-how. Their workplace can be from the kitchen or a van. The business might be set up in a home or a garage. You don't find these providers listed in a book directory, but you can find them on eqicaribbean.com, the online tool you'll need to search for products and services. Because as long as you are searching, we'll be here to list them.
Yes, sir. It is court in session. Back with the two Avengers, some people naked, but we will just not say anything about that. And the Bajan Scout, who's apparently donning his Indiana shirt because of a trade this afternoon. But we'll talk about that. We'll get to all those things today on court in session. And now we will go to the man who's leading the East. You know, Avenger number one. What do you have for us in the East there?
Well, what I have for you today is the fact that it is creeping ever closer to the NBA trade deadline. So in the spirit of trade week, which I like to call it, we're going to be looking at what each of the beasts of the East could do before the trade deadline to strengthen their chances of winning an NBA title. We're going to start with the number one team in the East. And really the NBA, if you really want to think about it, on a broader spectrum of things. We're going to talk about the Miami Heat. Now, the Miami Heat, the only thing I could see them doing to strengthen this team right now would be, they don't really need much playmaking, much more playmaking. They have Kyle already, they have Jimmy, they have Bam, Hero, all the people is coming back. Even Gabe Vincent is actually able to make pretty good plays for himself and others. Like they're deep in that regards. The only thing I would say this team needs is a backup to spell PJ Tucker because of the absences of Jimmy and Bam, he's actually had to log 7 very heavy minutes. Laurie had to do that as well, but we actually have a logjam of guards, so that's fine. But with Markieff Morris going down, there is no real person who plays Caleb Martin to really spell PJ. And honestly, if we want him to be an important part of the playoff rotation, he's gonna need to take a little break. Even if the Miami Heat is not actually take rest days, but just cut their minutes a bit in a very, very subtle way. You don't even realize it happens, but yeah, they don't take rest days. They just cut down your minutes. And PJ is the only person on the team that cannot do that. He's the only one of the starting players that can't do that. Bam has 2 backups. Laurie has about 10. Jimmy has Stroot and Caleb Martin behind him. Even Duncan Robinson, there are other shooters on the team. But there is no one to back up PJ. And that's the one thing I think they could use. I'm going a bit, of course, I talk about the Heat longer than I talk about everybody else. So we're going to speak through these next ones. The Bucks. Really, the only thing I would say the Bucks really need, besides consistent health, let's say Brook Lopez comes back. Is he coming back this season? Is he playing this season?
Yeah, I believe so. I think they
coming back. He was close to coming back, and then I don't know. He set back.
Yeah, it's a little bit up in the air.
Yeah.
So I would say only thing they need is probably like a consistent bench score, like a 6-man. I would say a 6-man. Yes, Bobby Portis is their best player off the bench, but I mean like Tyler Hero, what's the kid out in Utah's name? Jordan Clarkson-esque type of, you know what I mean? Just a pure score. That's something
the thing is that between them, in theory, that could have been maybe Dante, but he's still kind of working his way back from injury, and it's kind of been a little slower than expected because he was coming along nicely before he got hurt. But I think that's probably the closest that they would have thought they had.
I heard a pretty interesting rumor about Dante today, so we're gonna leave that for later, though. More exciting
we can leave that later.
But for now, yeah, the Bucks, I'd say they just need probably a 6-man. Even for the 6-man, I still think they have a chance to win the title. So that would just make them like, that would just be something they could do exciting. The Bulls, however, are not like the Bucks that have everything ever so assured. The Bulls are riddled with injuries right now. So apart from health, I would say their biggest thing, even though the guy that you can never remember if it's Javonte or Javonte Green. Javonte with a J, okay. I'm trying to remember that. Javonte Green has been playing good for them at a 4, but if they could get like a true 4 to shore up that starting spot, at least for now. I feel like
their 4s are kind of hurt.
Yeah, Lonzo's coming back, Caruso's coming back. Their team is pretty strong. I don't think a backup big would help, would hurt them either. Like someone to spell Vucevic a bit.
Yeah, they've actually been looking. I heard that they were interested in looking for a backup big, so that's actually a point of interest for them. Yeah,
makes sense. You say, I know what you're talking about. You call that credibility. Yeah. Other than that, the Bulls are pretty much in it to win it too. They're up there as the best in the league, not just the best in the East. The Cavs. Well, I think all the Cavs could really use is, someone to replace Colin Sexton in terms of being a secondary scorer. Probably someone like, tall and just a bucket getter. Probably someone from Indiana. Oh wait, they already did that. I'd say that Cavs LeVert trade is exactly what they needed, to be honest. Cavaliers. I hope Laurie comes back. I don't know how long he's supposed to be out for, but I feel as though if he comes back, Caris LeVert is now there. Who was starting at 2 before Caris LeVert out there?
He was starting
running. Yeah,
they
were running sometimes. Isaiah Okoro, sometimes.
I
think maybe Okoro. Yeah.
Yeah, Isaiah.
Yes.
Okoro. Yeah.
You're not team big, yeah. But yeah, definitely a good pickup. Isaiah Okoro can go to the bench, or I guess he could even spell Laurie for no. I think, as I said, Laurie's hurt, and when they get healthy, it's a good problem to have to choose which one of them starts, which one of those 3 starts. Because at the end of the day, Okoro is clamped. He's been playing very good defense on some of the league's teams, better players. So we'll see what happens there. 76ers. What trade could the 76ers use? The answer is a Ben Simmons trade. That's what trade is. If you get a pack of chips, and that pack of chips can pass the ball, I would take that. Reason? That is not a wasted roster spot. That pack of chips is going to play and come to work. So I'll take that pack of chips. Ben Simmons is a dead roster spot for that team. Not only is it a dead roster spot, it's an elite dead roster spot, which means he was one of your actual rotation players come playoff time. And now you have to force one of your lesser guys up in that role, which means instead of having, let's say, 9 or 8 playable players, you have like 7 or 8. So depth comes into it. Yes, Tyrese Maxey has been playing well, but if they could get like a starting caliber, I feel like they need a scoring point guard. Not need, that's not a scorer. I would like to see them get a scoring guard. Their defense, is actually, I don't know how they are defensively. I haven't really paid attention to them this year. Can someone tell me how they are defensively?
They're not too bad. They ain't great, but they ain't bad.
Yeah. It's almost like they're missing an all elite defensive player on their team. I don't know.
I actually possibly forgot that.
I can't put my finger on it though.
Defense isn't really a problem. Yeah, I think for them, they just need either someone to start consistently next to. Wait, no, they have Curry. Curry starts next to Maxey, right?
Yeah.
I would get a point guard. I would get a point guard and let Maxey be the 6th man for the rest of the year. Just for this year. You never know what happens in the offseason. But he played very well in the playoffs last year. If he could get that punch off the bench this year, I think that could help them on a deep playoff run.
Philly has a top 10 scorer defense, by the way. So yeah, the defense is pretty solid.
Oh, so there you go. And their offense has to be elite with Joel Embiid going out of his mind right now. I'm very interested to see how he plays for the rest of the season, because it will be. I don't think that's a manageable average to keep up. That's pretty crazy.
Boy, I think he can manage it.
We'll see. You never know.
I'm actually going to talk about these next 3 really quick. I wasn't really planning to but I'm just going to wing it here for a second. Rapid fire. The Raptors, I have no idea what I think they need like a solid big. Like Siakam at center has worked, and they've been on a winning streak and stuff. But you can't go to the playoffs with Siakam at center. Siakam is not stopping Jordan. Siakam is not stopping Giannis at center. Siakam is not even stopping Bam. I watched them play.
I mean, to be fair, I mean,
yeah, they need a big.
A lot of people can start Embiid or Giannis, but I get what you mean. Yeah.
I feel a respectful resistance at least.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a decent problem to have right now because it does make for them to not have to choose between Scotty Barnes, Siakam, and what's the other guy's name?
OG, yeah.
Right. Which one of them starts? Because Scotty Barnes,
all three of them.
I forget Scotty Barnes rookie every single time I watch that man play. He's been so good and so
really nice
this year. Right. This is the slowest rapid fire ever. Moving on to the Nets. What the Nets need is anyone that can guard my grandmother when she goes for shopping. Anybody, please, just bring in some sort of defense. Tony Allen out of retirement, I'll take it. Please, they have everything offensively. They have lob targets. They have shooters. They have magicians and wizards and fantastic beasts and where to find them. They have everything. They just need to play some defense, and they're going to be the most unstoppable team in the league, I'm telling you. And
speaking of unstoppable, you saw how they start tonight against the Celtics by any chance?
Oh yes, 28-2. That's, you know what you call that? Yes, their scores are out, but this is what it looks like when you're an NBA team who, when your scores are out, you still don't play defense. You get flamed and often. And the last thing we're going to talk about in this each segment is the Celtics. Now the Celtics are pretty interesting. They've just won 5 games in a row.
Yeah, they started playing better lately.
That was actually due to health. They got back Marcus Smart is the last person I remember coming back. And since then, I think they had a similar problem to Jimmy and Bam when Miami was without Laurie. I find that when Jimmy and Bam have to create for themselves and others, things can get mucked up a bit, and the offense doesn't run as smoothly as when they could just run to their spots and have a guard pass on the ball. So when Marcus Smart came back, Marcus Smart is actually a very good decision maker for this team. He's a very good playmaker on a whole. So I believe that, and the fact that I felt like before Marcus Smart came back, it was one or the other. Tatum and Brown were not popping off on the same, but they have had a few games now. I think they had both of them scored 30 the other night or something like that.
Yeah.
Some things like that. I think Tatum had dropped 50. Brown actually played well that game as well. They just look better, and the only thing I would say they would need, I think their trade is more about moving someone and bringing someone in. I think that's Schroeder. Schroeder doesn't want to be there. It's very obvious. You could watch it from his body language. He doesn't want to be there. It's been reported 100 times. He never really wanted to go there in the first place. He just went there as like a plan B to his terrible offseason decision. But I've actually I'm going to leave that for the other segment I forgot. But Celtics could use I'd say they could use either a starting 2 or 1. Marcus Smart does a great job, but if you can have a scoring point guard as him or someone that's better than him at doing what he already does pretty well, like let's say like someone like a space player, I feel like the perfect fit when I stop and think about like Malcolm Brogdon, I think would be a really good fit for the Celtics. I feel like he would get us to another level.
Just targeting Indiana.
Yeah.
Like they haven't already.
That's because you see his shirt. That's because you see his shirt.
The only issue is that Brogdon's not available until summer, but so come back in summer if you want it.
Wait, Ashley?
Yeah, because of his it was the extension or something like that.
Yeah, he signed an extension beginning of the year.
So he can onto the year.
Yeah, he can't be traded until 6 months later.
Brogdon. I just meant like a player like Brogdon, like their version of Kyle Lowry or CP3, someone to get everyone a pass first point guard. I agree. A creator, so even someone like Gordon here would have been perfect for them. But.
I literally had that discussion with somebody. I feel like they were
he been there and he did that. So I don't think he's going back there, and I don't think they'll want him back either. So
that is exactly what they need. But
that is it for Avenger 1 and the East. The East looking kind of strange. Everybody bunch up in a little group here. So we'll see what happens going forward. But we'll now go to the West. And Avenger number 2, Keelan Phillips. What do you have for us in the West?
Yeah, I'm gonna do my breakdown as well for some of the teams, but I gotta start with usual trending up and down. Right now, the Blazers, who are hot in NBA news, they lost 5 games in a row. Surprise. But trending up are the Warriors, Dubs. They have won 9 games in a row after they were going through that little slump. And the Timberwolves, who are much improved this year, have won 4 games in a row. In terms of the standings, we're going to talk about like the playoff / playing spots. Not much has really changed. The top 4 is still the same. Nuggets and Mavs kind of switch spots every couple hours or whenever they play and one lose. And the Blazers are now out of the playing, and the Pelicans are now in the playing spot. Once again, we can talk about them a little later. Team of the week, they win 9 games in a row. The Warriors gotta be the team of the week. And
you can't win 9 games in a row in a week, though.
Yes, but they're undefeated in that week, though. They're the only
so once they keep the streak alive, the team of the week is going to be the Warriors for the rest of the show.
Not necessarily, because if I find somebody that had a very impressive, it also depends on who they play. If somebody like say the Thunder were to be like the Suns, Jazz, and Grizzlies all in 1 week, they're definitely team of the week. So definitely. Not happening though. And then player of the week, I could give a shout out to Brandon Ingram. He averaged 27 and 9, and Pelicans actually went 3-1 in this week, so he's the player of the week. MVP, I got Embiid in first place right now. Then followed by Jokic and Giannis, but really and truly, whoever you want to just flip flop at this point, because you can make an argument for Giannis, you can make an argument for Jokic, but I think Embiid right now has a slight edge. Yeah. Okay. Now what some of the top teams in the West could use. In terms of player movement, I really only have like one team that really might need like external moves, like player moves. But in terms of like the Warriors, Suns, and I even throw in the Nuggets, what they need is health at this point. Draymond has been out for a while. The big 3, Clay, Dre, and Steph have not played a game at all this season. Not even one. Because I'm not counting that game where Dre just suited up to that thing. So that game doesn't count. So they haven't played a single game, and Wiseman has not played as yet. I think once they get healthy, I think they can they would just need health and reps, and they should be fine. Same with the Suns, even though the Suns are faring a little better because Aiden has missed 21 games this year, but I saw that they were 18-3 without him. So they actually weren't missing a step. JaVale McGee has been a very good backup piece for them. And they have signed beyond ball. He had a little state to where he was doing well. So their thing is really just health as well, even though they're doing fine without Aiden being consistently there. They have some internal movement.
By the way, that might actually help to justify Suns' position as to when
they give it the extension. Yep, that's a very good point. I didn't say it without that is a topic at the beginning of the year. We gonna see how that plays out. Even though I still think that he will stay, but you never know. For the Nuggets on the same boat of health, Murray. No, I don't think they're on the same level as the Warriors or the Suns, but I still think that getting back Murray with the way how Jokic is playing right now, that's a team that you may not want to see in like the second round. Like we all know how Murray can be. Yes, he's inconsistent at times, but when he's hot, he is hot. And Jokic is playing better than almost everybody in the league right now. So I don't think you want to see them. Once they get healthy, they should be playing. MPJ is not coming back apparently for this season. But the Grizzlies. Yeah. I'm not. I was thinking about the Grizzlies. I'm not. I don't know if y'all could help me out. The only thing I can really think they just need right now, besides probably Dylan Brooks coming back, just more internal growth. Like I can't think or just like one single thing that I would make them be like, boom, all right, this is for sure what they need. I don't know if y'all can. I mean, I can't think of anything else besides just more growth because they're a fairly young team. So
I'd say the only thing I would really give them, they don't really need it per se, but I think another stopper. I think like one more wing stopper, especially for the playoffs.
The thing is that Dylan Brooks is usually that guy, but you know, there's no such thing as too much.
When he goes off the court, no one on that team is really stopping an elite wing. You're talking about Paul George.
Yeah, right.
Look at it though. But look at it. There aren't many people that stop the elite wings, really.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of slowing it down.
Yeah,
slow down. Sorry, I should never stop. There's no one that as good as Ja is. I don't think he's an elite defender. I don't know if Ben is supposed to be a good defender. I haven't really paid attention to him like that. But what happens when they butt the I can't even say Luka because Luka has no one else on his team. Let's say the Warriors. They butt the Warriors. Who's running behind Steph?
I think they have put
Curry Clay. Who's running behind Clay?
I think they have like Ben and like other guys. The thing is, right, they play good defense, but like just a collective. Like you can't really think like, all right, well, besides Jaren Jackson Jr., he's an elite shot blocker, right? But in terms of, I think it was more sort of kind of like a collective group of how they play defense.
Right. Yeah. Their team defense is pretty good.
Yeah, apart in a film room eventually, and I feel that's what's going to be their
They also have Kyle Anson. Remember, he's a pretty solid defender as well. So.
Kyle Anson is known as slow-mo.
And the Anthony Melton is pretty decent.
But he has length, you know, so that will help against those guys.
Who?
Yeah.
It's a Kyle. He has some length.
I really feel that. You see, when you're playing Denver one night, and then next night you're playing Warriors, and next night you play Phoenix, or the next night you're playing Pelicans, you tend to be look a little better than when I follow about you for 7 games, right? And pick you apart, right? Yeah. So although I see I look at the regular season matchups, but when it comes to playoffs, it'll be a different story. The big guys is up the level a couple notches, and the coaches is, then zone in on things that you do and blah blah, and got you for a whole series. I might win a game, but to win 4 games, right, is be real difficult. When that would be a difficulty for those young teams. And I'm not saying anything bad about it. I think I like them, and also I like the Cavaliers. But I think what is going to happen is, nothing beats experience. When everybody got the same amount of talent, experience going to win out, right? So we'll see how that goes with the totals.
And the last thing that I want to talk about. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, right, like I said in the beginning, it wasn't really a need. I know they're a good defensive team and whatnot, but in the situation where Big gets hurt, what do they do in terms of stopping the guy on the other team? Dylan Brooks I think he's just short enough and tall enough to deal with pretty much anybody. He's like 6'5", right? 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, he's stalking.
I think he's you could put him in front of LeBron, you could still put him in front of Steph going for it. I mean,
he's very versatile either, but he's
defender. But chance, right? Yeah. Melton is actually a pretty good defender too, off the bench, but he's not going to guard no Braun, or he's not. You can't put him to stand in front Braun. I don't want to say guard it. You can't put him to stand in front Braun. You can't put him to stand in front PG, even though we don't know if he's coming back. But just what I mean, another wing to throw up there in case. I mean, I don't mean like a Kawhi, I mean like somebody like a Derrick Jones Jr. Someone who's known for defense, but maybe like a cheap contract pick, someone you could bring off the bench.
You might be able to find them in the buyout market.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to talk about,
Holiday, just because Indiana.
Last thing I want to talk about quick is the
he's gone over here.
The Utah Jazz. No, we talked a little bit about how good coaches could pick apart even a good defense in the playoffs. And we saw what Tyloo did last year with the Utah Jazz. And what I think they need are wing defenders. I stressed this, I think, on here a couple weeks back. I stressed in other group chats. They need better wing defenders besides Royce O'Neal. Because what happens in the playoffs when you have 7 games that you know, oh, well, I can run past Jordan Clarkson and this guy. When you do that, Rudy has to say, oh, well, no, I have to turn around and help. And when he goes and help, then if you spread the floor with 5 shooters, then there's somebody in the corner. And that's exactly what happened with the Clippers last year. Like, as elite as Gobert is, he still has a weakness. Like, all elite. Exactly. Like, even Draymond weakness in terms of defense, I would say, is size. Like, bigger teams will more so get in trouble, like the Suns, and that's what it is. So even the elite players have weaknesses. So I think they need better wing defenders, because you're putting Gobert at a disadvantage where he's not at his strengths anymore, where he has to exit the paint because he has to turn around and help. So I think some wing defenders could be useful for the Jazz. And, because as I said, Rudy basically single-handedly carries that defense, besides kind of Royce O'Neal and Donovan Mitchell, I guess. Because Mike Conley was a solid defender when he was there, but he's starting to slow down now with the injuries that he had. So those are some of the things that I think that the top teams need. And that's all that I have for now. Back to you, Marv.
So you just heard from the Avenger number 2, although he was bareback. But we will now entertain what we call at the line. And at the line tonight, as you notice, some people wear Indiana shirts and Oklahoma shirts and all sorts of things. So, but first I want to go at Ben Simmons, because we have to get Ben Simmons out of the way first. And I think right now, I would like to know who will want Ben Simmons in the current, in any team who will want Ben Simmons. So tell me, who you think who will want Ben Simmons at this point?
Apparently not the Nets, because they shut down the whole Ben Simmons thing. They made Harden say, go and tell your friends we don't want to play with that.
Yes.
You're going to
Well,
have to stop.
There has some reporting from Woj and Ramona Shelburne that Ben Simmons is really looking real good, in his workouts. They forget to mention who he's working out against, but they said he was looking really good in his workouts. But I don't think he will. If Sixers move him now, I don't think they will get what they want. But I think Sixers will have a problem, and their problem will be how can they reconcile the season that Joel Embiid is having, and you not having help for him. So they will have to deal with that otherwise. And
one thing that's helping them is that Embiid is not putting any pressure on them. Embiid has essentially kept the company line, and he's said at every point, yes, we can wait. We have everything we need right now. We can win with the current team. So he's not putting any pressure on ownership. He's not putting any pressure on the GM, which, I mean, you can't imagine LeBron doing that. LeBron would be putting pressure. Other stars would also be putting pressure. So I think he is. I mean, he's having an MVP level season. I think he is happy as it is right now to a degree, because I guess he's look at his individual accolades that he can get right now. So he could. I think he's okay with the situation as is for the time being.
That is all nice and fine to lose the Raptors in the playoffs. So then you can have an issue then coming up. But
if he also has the MVP with him, I think it would that help to soothe that loss.
We'll see. So that's it really for Ben Simmons. Because we don't want to drag the Ben Simmons saga too long, because we don't want to upset the bench number 1. So, but we had a blockbuster trade this afternoon with Indiana and Cavaliers, and they were this body via this person. It was so much via. I mean, I get lost on the road. So So now we can discuss that trade. The trade is obvious that Indiana is open for business. So
Well,
I will give the Indiana man first choice as so tell me, you're open for business. Let me see what's happening.
Yep. That's what Fritz said earlier in the year. He was open for business and he's held true to that. The trade you're talking about with LeVert, actually, that happened last week.
Last week.
Yes, and Indiana did quite well in that trade. I don't think they would want a much more value for LeVert. They were hoping for basically for 2 first-round picks. And they basically got that. The second-round pick is a very high second-round pick that they got from Houston. And they have also some cap relief with the Ricky Rubio contract. So they made it pretty good with LeVert. And today, the big one with the Kings.
All right, the Kings one that was big today, yes.
Yeah, that was a big one. When I first saw it, because I haven't watched a lot of Halliburton, I knew he's a very good young player. I know he was in the running for Rookie of the Year last year as well. And I know he has a pretty high upside. But when I see how the NBA has reacted in general, most people seem to think this is some type of a steal. They want to know what the Kings are doing. And people seem to think that Indiana did extremely well with this trade. So I can't argue with that. From looking into him a little bit more, he's definitely a very good young player. I don't think you're probably going to get much more for Sabonis than this either. The other pieces are ancillary pieces. Buddy Hield, I don't think he's fit into Indiana's long-term plans, but he helps them make any money. And he's still a very good shooter. Indiana's one of the worst shooting teams in the NBA. So, and it definitely improved where that's concerned in terms of the shooting and in terms of a good young piece. So they have 2 very good young players right now. 2 of them are going to be the Rising Star games, and they have 3 draft picks coming up in this draft. And they have 2 guys in terms of Tristan Thompson, Ricky Rubio, that they can use as cap relief, or there's still some time between now and Thursday that they can potentially flip that 4 picks potential. So I think Pritchard is doing an outstanding job so far in the last week.
That's from the Indiana man, but I always say draft picks don't play basketball, so we'll see how that turns out.
They play eventually.
We feel that there will be some more deadline trades. Right now, there's some talk about DeMarcus Cousins going back to Denver, and apparently the LA Lakers is staying pat, so we'll see how that one goes as well.
Yeah, I don't have a choice really.
Right. No one wants what they have, so they will find themselves in a lot of trouble.
I think LA will probably sneak into a deal near the deadline. They don't have anything to drive the deal right now, but I think they'll be able to potentially get on somebody's wagon near deadline potential.
I really feel I'm going to be honest. I think it's a wash season for Lakers because unless they do something astounding after the All-Star break, I don't see them doing any better than how they're doing now. Because the simple fact they just don't play any D, and they don't have a lot of players that like to play D. And so
it's true.
So the problem, as we talked about earlier, is when you play a man today and then you got the other fellow tomorrow, people can't prepare. They cannot stop any quick guard. And once they can't do that, they can have hell in the West. And I don't even see them beating Grizzlies at this point.
The thing about it is that everybody keeps saying, just let them get healthy. Just let them get healthy, right? And somebody I saw in a video made a very good point. Is like, how often is it that you have all of your star players or your best players for the entirety of a season? That's just a reality of an 82 game grind season. Like you will lose your best players at some point in time. So the fact that you're looking around the league and you're seeing the Bulls, you're seeing the Heat, you're seeing Bucks, you're seeing all these teams are going through the same thing that these teams are going through with Warriors in terms of losing their best players and still are at the top, still winning. It don't matter. Exactly, and those guys are stepping up. it cannot be an excuse of you saying that all these guys wait until these guys think, especially based on the history of the guys that you were talking about. Braun is getting older, and Davis is very injury prone. So to think that, oh well, these guys are gonna come back and just always be healthy for the rest of the season is not a realistic possibility. So I just want to say one more thing about the Indiana trade, because me and Teron were talking about the trade deadline things the whole day. So we're having a discussion about the Kings versus Indiana thing, because we were on slightly different spectrums of the trade, and Teron he kind of bring me a little closer to like being not on the Kings side in terms of favor, but I saw the trade a little bit better, because basically what it boiled down to, in my opinion, the Kings now have a higher floor than they had before. But I think in terms of if they had like kept Halliburton and traded Fox, I think maybe they could have had a higher ceiling in terms of the team, because what I was looking at Teron is that in terms of contract, it would be easier to build around Halliburton because he's still on a rookie deal, as opposed to Fox and Sabonis, who were on kind of a lot bigger contracts in terms of, because like you could, especially if you were to get a good return for Fox instead. So
you're absolutely right. The key is that Pritchard didn't want Fox, and the Kings.
No.
And the Kings really wanted Sabonis. So Halliburton was, from what I understand, Halliburton was really not on the table initially. Initially, they've been trying to shop Fox for quite some time. But Halliburton was not on the table initially. But as we're getting closer to the deadline, guys, they really wanted Sabonis, and they decided, well, it's worth it to put in Halliburton. But what you're saying is correct.
Right now, we are talking about the Kings, right? Even though we talk about the Kings, right? There's nothing coherent coming from the Kings. I'm sorry. Besides me being their only fan in Barbados, there's nothing coherent coming from the Kings. I see Kings and Pelicans and Detroit on the same level. They just I don't understand, like they're like propping up the bottom of the NBA, make sure that the top don't fall. But to me, they don't make, to me, a lot of the things that they do don't really make a lot of sense to me.
It wasn't a bad move for them per se, though, because I mean, Sabonis gives them a dimension that they didn't really have. It's just
I understand that, but we will see how it shakes out, because there's a saying. I remember all the time, this guy Hibbert left Indiana. I mean, he left Indiana. He was like one of the top centers in NBA. I think he went Lakers or somewhere like that. And then next thing here, we didn't even know. Actually, we didn't even know. When we see Hibbert, he was like, not recognizable. So sometimes the team that we playing in, will make you look a certain way. I think Sabonis looked good in Indiana. He get the touches. He could play. I didn't say he can't play. But let me see what can happen on Kings. Now with Bagley Baggishly, and then down there, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens down there in Kings.
Yeah, so, I don't think the Kings will have to worry about that. Hibbert was clearly on a decline like his last year or so in Indiana. Yeah. I don't know if you remember those series against those series against Atlanta in the playoffs. What's his name? I think it wasn't Pekovic, but one of their European centers was literally playing him off the floor. I mean, Hibbert has some serious issues in his last year in Indiana. Domas he's a very good player. He's extremely versatile. Very fit in most systems. I don't think. I think he will look good in most systems. It's just matter if the team around.
The only problem,
but we still saying the Kings, right?
The Kings is in terms of their two best players now can't really shoot. That's all right, because Sabonis shoots like 30% from the field and Fox shoots like 30% from the field. So
buddy. But remember, it is like these three Kings. The only three Kings that we talk about is around Christmas time. So these three Kings, we can see how these Kings gonna work out. But I am not holding my breath, to be honest with you. I think Indiana is playing smart.
Yeah,
I think Indiana is playing smart. They're trying to rebuild a roster. They're in a small market. They're trying to build a team that will represent for years to come. And I don't have a problem with how they're going about it. I don't like the idea of people tanking, but I won't really say they're tanking per se. They just was a real bad team, right? So I think that, you know, I don't mind you using, you know, your pieces to get other pieces to make a better team. I don't like the process about, you know, you come in last so you could get high draft picks. Because draft picks don't play, and we have known people coming out of college, you know, top-notch players coming out of college, and when they get the NBA, I mean the last season, right? So we'll see how that goes. But we still have how many days to the trade deadline? A couple days to the trade deadline? Two days to the trade deadline. So we might have something next week to really chew on when it comes to the trade deadline. This is the time of the year where, you know, if you talk about the NBA, you like to be, you know, this is the time of the year that you like. Because a lot of things will happen, and some people will surprise you, and some people surprise you the other way. So we'll see how that one goes. But for now, we have to go to our pick 5. Now, last week in our pick 5, I probably need some violin music, but the Bajan Scout, and I think it is one Marv. We had 4 and 5, and the Avengers had 3 and 5. And the Avengers picked people because. But we tried to pick people because we thought they would win. So, and on Wednesday, we started on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we're having the San Antonio Spurs at
Why does he do this?
Cleveland.
Why is he continuing to do this?
I give you permission to vote against your team.
You know, one of this, right? Not yet.
Is Garland back?
Not yet.
And you have to ask that. They're playing San Antonio, dude.
Look.
If Garland isn't there and DeJounte Murray there, that makes an interesting game, to be honest.
Look, I am going to back the Spurs until the wheels fall off. The wheels are already falling off, but I can still back them. So
you got an all-star, man.
Exactly. I just showed up my all-star, DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, so,
I am going with the Spurs.
Okay. So I think everybody else going with the Cavs.
No, I don't care.
And Keelan is going with Spurs. On Thursday, New York at GSW. New York at Golden State Warriors.
Is this a trick question?
I put it in. Pardon me?
9 games in a row, the Knicks aren't going to be the ones to stop that. I'm sorry.
I don't think anybody's going against Golden State.
Yeah, I heard if I missed it.
The Knicks want to go against
on Friday, though. On Friday, we have a big one. Minnesota at Chicago. That's a big one.
It was a playing good.
That's actually a decent game.
You know, Cat and I have been playing well, so naturally I am going to ignore all of that and pick DeMar DeRozan. So I'm going with the Bulls. It don't matter, it's DeMar DeRozan.
Okay, Keelan going with the Bulls. Who else going with the Bulls?
I go with you.
Hyperactive Anthony Edwards marking DeMar DeRozan is going to be so interesting, but at the end of the day, I can't go against the Marvelous. That man's too nice.
So you're going also with the Bulls. What about you there, Bajan Scout?
That's going to
I go with T-Bulls on this one.
Okay. I think I go with you, though.
Interesting.
Just to make it interesting on this side. On Saturday,
all of a sudden, you're all teaming up.
Brooklyn is at Miami. Aha.
Brooklyn is at Miami.
Brooklyn is at Miami.
All that means is that Curry is going to play, and they can probably lose by 15 instead of 20 at this point.
So
they have players because they don't have any tonight.
So Keelan is going with Miami. I know Terror is going with Miami. The Bajan Scout going with Miami too, because I look at his face that he's interested in going.
Actually, this is around the time. All people are supposed to be listed to come back too. So I think
I go with Miami because the only NBA game I ever watched live was Miami versus Washington. So I will go with Miami as well.
Your reasons are hilarious.
Yeah, I don't have any basketball reasons. It's just a reason. All right, so on Sunday, Atlanta is at Boston. There's another good game.
Boston.
Ooh. Boston been playing well of late. So it'll be hard.
That is Tehran going with Boston. What about you there, Keelan?
I go with Boston too.
Going with Boston. Based on the current trajectory, if you pick Boston, Boston's going to lose.
If both of us pick Celtics, Alan's going for Hawks. I think I'm gonna go with you.
It is a coin flip where this was concerned, but I think I will support. I prefer the Hawks in this situation. I will support my man.
I get with the Hawks too because if I go with Boston, right, and the win, this is gonna be that ain't gonna be no fun. So I will go with Atlanta.
You're just following the trend. Right. Anytime two of us pick the same team, Alan picks against us, and you join Alan.
Right.
See this team up thing? I know this team up thing.
They get 2-1-2.
Well, this was happening. We both got 4-5, so you should really follow that trend too. So that's it for our courting session. A real tumultuous pick 5. And right now, the court is adjourned.